Hello, I would say good afternoon. It's afternoon here, but I don't know what time you're watching this. We did some little videos talking about Palm Sunday and Good Friday. Did those at the same time because they both talked about the Passion. So now we're going to talk about the Holy Triduum. Now, Good Friday is part of the Holy Triduum, but it starts on Holy Thursday, the Mass of the Lord's Supper is when the Triduum starts. And the Holy Triduum is Holy Thursday, Mass of the Lord's Supper, then this service on Good Friday, and then the Easter Vigil is when it ends. And so even though it's those three different services, it's like one long continuous service. It just takes 3 days to do it all. Because this is the most important time in our faith. Because this is talks about the Lord's passion, death, and resurrection. And when we say Lord's passion, we talk about his suffering and his death, his crucifixion. And so we start off this Holy Triduum with the Mass of the Lord's Supper, and caught my camera moment off guard. And with this, it starts pretty much like regular Mass. You know, while during Lent, we haven't been singing that song called the Gloria, but we'll do that for Holy Thursday for the first time in a while. And then we have the opening prayer, and then we do the readings just like we would do at a normal Mass. And then the priest gives his wonderful, great homily. And then we do something different. It's time to go and wash the feet. And when we wash feet, it's because of the Gospel of John that we'll read that night. At the Last Supper, his is different than all the others. In the other Gospels, they talk about the bread and the wine, you know, kind of the body and blood of Jesus. In John's Gospel, he doesn't do that. And why is that? It's because John's Gospel was written last of the four that we have in the Bible. And it's several decades after the others were written. And so John's had a lot of time to think about what all was going on in our faith and what Jesus was trying to tell us. And he knows everybody's aware of the Eucharist. They've been celebrating the Eucharist for like 50 years or so. And so he's showing a different part of that service that Christ calls us to, where, you know, Jesus talks a lot about how we should be servants to one another. You know, one of the things that he says is that how the Gentiles, which the people that were not believers, how when they have power, they lord it over others and let them know that they are in charge. But with us, it's not supposed to be that way. Whoever is the greatest must be the servant of all. And so he doesn't just talk about that, he shows them. And so the priest at Mass, you know, is standing in the place of Jesus. And so he will go and kind of act that out. He takes off the chasuble and the stole, and then the deacon will be there to help him. And he'll go over here, and we usually have 12 people. Now we have the apostles up there on the altar, you can see. So the 12 people that we have represent the 12 apostles. And Jesus, the priest represents Jesus. So we'll have the people sitting there. Most of the time when we do it here at St. Elizabeth's, we have a representative from different ministries that we have. This year we were going to do something a little bit different. We were going to do something way different this year, which is just going to be Father Shiju up here and me. And but we were, and we'll do it next year, provided we don't have another plague. We will have where if you want to have your feet washed, you can put your name in the basket, and then earlier in the week, and then we'll draw 12 names from that, and then have 12 people come up to represent the apostles for us. So the people would sit on the bench. We'll have longer benches. The priest would stand down here, or kneel down here, and we'll have a water bowl, and they'll put take their shoes off, and put their feet in there, and pour water on their feet, and then you'll take the towel and dry them. Now, kind of a weird thing to do, you think. Well, think back to the time Jesus was living. Okay, so they wore sandals all the time. They didn't have sidewalks and things like that. The roads were like dirt roads and stuff all the time. So your feet would get real dirty. And when you went into somebody's house, if they were a wealthy person, they would have a slave or a servant that would come and wash your feet before you walked into their house. And that was supposed to be the dirtiest part of your body. And so that was the a very degrading thing for the slave or the servant to wash someone's feet. And so for Jesus as the master to be doing that for his disciples, his apostles, is a real sign of him emptying himself. You know, we read that reading at from the book of Philippians. We had at Palm Sunday, where it talks about, although he was in the form of God, he did not deem equality with God something to be grasped. Rather, he emptied himself and took the form of a slave. And so showing how Jesus is completely pouring himself out in service to us out of his love for us. And this is another example of that. And then after he finishes, and when he tells the apostles that they need to go and do the same. And so it doesn't mean they get up right then and start washing each other's feet. It's just when they go out into the world that they are to remember that they're called to be servants and not people's master. As a priest, this was one of the most moving things I've ever do is at this Mass. And I remember the first time I did it, it was really, I was worried about it because I was nervous about all the different things you do, but also because, it was, you start worrying about getting all the actions right. Then I started worrying, well, hope they all took a bath that day so their feet didn't stink. And when we got up there and started to do it, I remember how looking in the eyes of the people as I went down the line washing their feet, and I could see in their eyes, it reminded me of through the year how many times they had shown Christ to me. You know, even though I was there serving them at that time, they had served me throughout the year and shown Christ to me. And I was in tears by the time I got finished. And I don't do that a lot. And so that was really an amazing experience for me, very powerful. And, we have to do these rituals and things every now and then in our lives to remind us of that, to remind us why we do what we do. So it's very good for the priest, I think, to remind ourselves and at this service, that we are called to be servants, and why we decided to be priests to begin with, so we could serve others. Now, after this, then the priest will go and get dressed again, put the stole back on, and the chasuble. Okay. And the altar servers and stuff will come and take the bench and everything away, and everybody will be going back to their seats, so there'll be a lot of moving around and stuff on the regular Holy Thursday. Then we go into the Liturgy of the Eucharist. And so this evening also is a celebration of that. Because this is the night that Jesus instituted the priesthood for all of us, and he gave us and left us the Eucharist so he could be with us until he comes again. And so we'll celebrate the Liturgy of the Eucharist pretty much like we do all the time, except at the end of Mass, we will. So at the end of the Mass, we have let me go and run to the back and get this. I should have gotten it before. Okay, so at the end of the Mass, we'll have two of these out here for Mass. These are called ciborium, and it looks like a chalice with a lid on it. And so this is what we keep the body of Christ in after it's consecrated. And so inside of the tabernacle, there's one of these that's about half full. And so for Mass of Holy Thursday, we'll have them both full. And so we'll have a whole bunch. And the reason we will use about twice as much as we normally do, because on Good Friday, the next day, we can't have Mass. That's the only day of the whole year in the church that no Mass is celebrated. So whenever we finish with Mass, that evening we're getting ready to go into celebrating Jesus' Passion the next day at Good Friday. So the deacon will take the ciborium, there'll be two of them, and the altar servers, and they will go process out of the church, go out the back door, and they go over in the Hebrew Hall, where we'll have what we call the Altar of Repose set up. And so it'll be another tabernacle that we have, and it'll be, the Blessed Sacrament will be placed in there to wait for us until the Easter Vigil. And we'll bring it back in for communion on Good Friday, then it will go back out there. And then after we finish with that, the altar is completely stripped bare. So the candles are gone, the altar cloth is gone, all the decorations, everything is gone. The tabernacle is open, and that red light by the tabernacle, the sanctuary light, is blown out. Because that light shows us that the Lord is present there. The Blessed Sacrament is no longer there. And so everything is stripped out and removed. And then we enter into that solemn celebration for Good Friday, which we have another video for. And so, if you have any questions, raise your hand. And anyway, well, I wish you were here so you could. But anyway, you will see us again, or you can email any questions you might have, and I'll try to get back to you. If you have any questions, you can do that. And we'll see you. Next one we'll do will be video about the Easter Vigil. So have a good afternoon, morning, or evening, whatever it might be when you're watching this. See you later.